Imagine staring down a 72-hour eviction notice taped to your own front gate, bold red letters screaming vacate or face legal removal, after a lifetime on the land your granddad bled for. That's the gut punch Jack Holloway took, standing there with coffee in hand, watching HOA Queen Judith Harmon gloat from her golf cart like she'd just dealt a royal flush. But here's the killer twist. 3 days earlier, Jack had quietly bought the land under their fancy clubhouse, pool, tennis courts, the whole HOA empire, through a shell company. When they tried to boot him off his ranch, he flipped the script, tripling their rent and unleashing a storm of sabotage, embezzlement exposes, and fiery revenge that burned their world to the ground. This is a saga of land, legacy, and karma that hits harder than a Texas dust storm. Welcome to Karen Karma, where HOA tyrants get run off their own range. If you're new, smash that subscribe and ring the bell. At Karma for Karen, roping injustice one epic showdown at a time. Comment below, ever faced a power-hungry neighbor? Drop your state or country. Where's this ranch war resonating? Saddle up, this one's a wild ride. The sun hung low over Pine Hollow, Texas, painting the rolling hills in shades of burnt orange and casting long shadows across Jack Holloway's 200-acre ranch, a rugged kingdom of weathered fences, grazing cattle, and the faint lowing that echoed like a family hymn. Jack, a third-generation rancher with sun-leathered skin and calloused hands that told stories of droughts and dawns, had poured his soul into this land. His granddad had claimed it in the 50s, fighting off bankers and bad weather to build a legacy of sweat and stubborn pride. Jack grew up knee-deep in hay bales, learning to mend fences before he could drive, watching his father turn soil into sustenance. It was more than property, it was home, a place where the wind whispered secrets and the gate creaked like an old friend. For decades, it was peaceful, the distant hum of the growing HOA subdivision a faint buzz, like flies on a summer day. Then Judith Harmon arrived 5 years ago, a retired California marketing exec with a silver tongue and a hunger for control. She didn't just move in, she conquered. Within months, she'd transformed the HOA into a bureaucratic beast, her clipboard a gavel of petty decrees. Mailbox colors fined for non-compliance, lawns measured to the millimeter, gates condemned for aesthetic disruption. Judith patrolled in her pearl-white golf cart, blonde hair pinned tight, eyes scanning for infractions like a hawk on the hunt. She hated Jack's ranch, called it a visual blight, a disruption to harmony, and started with the small stuff. Citations for his barn, encroaching on a buffer zone, fines for his fence, interrupting flow, even a $500 penalty for the wrong shade of iron on his gate. Jack laughed it off at first, telling her over the fence, "Ma'am, the cows ain't switching to beige just to please you." But Judith didn't laugh. She dug deeper, sniffing county records to prove his land was community reserve. Jack knew better, his granddad's steel box under the workbench held deeds and surveys older than her subdivision. This wasn't about rules, it was about power, and Jack's independent spread was the thorn in her manicured crown. His neighbor Clay, a burly tractor mechanic down the road with ears like radar, tipped him off first. Heard Judith's lawyering up. "Jack says your ranch bleeds into their green space." Clay, who fixed every machine in a 20-mile radius, heard the whispers before they hit the wind. Jack double-checked his paperwork, the yellow deeds whispering truths Judith ignored. But the rumors stirred something in him, opportunity. Whispers floated that the land under the HOA clubhouse might hit the market, that gleaming palace of pools, tennis courts, and barbecue pavilions, the heart of Judith's empire. Jack didn't hesitate. Through Iron Creek Holdings, an LLC he'd quietly set up months earlier, he snapped it up in a cash deal, clean, anonymous, no ties to the dusty rancher next door. It was his ace, buried deep. The eviction notice hit like a gut shot. Jack was out by the gate at dawn, coffee steaming in his thermos, when he spotted the paper flapping in the breeze, bold red letters screaming, "Vacate within 72 hours or face legal removal." His ranch? Evicted? The land his blood had tilled for generations? He ripped it down, heart pounding like a stampede, and there she was, Judith, parked across the field in her golf cart, binoculars in hand, smirking like she'd just drawn aces. Jack didn't yell, he wasn't built for that. He pulled out his phone, dialed his attorney, voice low as gravel. "Triple the rent on that clubhouse land. Effective immediately." The lawyer paused, mid-sip of coffee. "You sure, Jack? That's going nuclear." Jack's eyes locked on Judith's cart. "They gave me 3 days to leave my own land. Let's see how they handle 30 days to pay up or pack out." The feud had been brewing for years, but this was the boil over. It started small, a citation for his barn, too close to the buffer zone, a fine for his fence, blocking visual harmony. Judith's letters piled up like storm debris, $200 for non-compliant gate color, $500 for cattle odor nuisance. Jack paid a few, laughed off the rest, but when she started surveying his boundaries, Clay's warnings turned urgent. "She's at the county office, Jack, claiming your spread's HOA reserve." Jack knew the truth, his granddad's deeds were ironclad, surveys from the 50s proving his lines clear. But Judith didn't care, she wanted his land annexed, his ranch swallowed into her beige utopia. Jack's response? That secret purchase of the clubhouse land, a quiet checkmate he held close, waiting for the right moment. The notice was that moment. Jack gave Judith a day to savor her victory, then drove into town, the envelope of new lease terms heavy in his pocket. Tripled rent, 30-day notice, or vacate the clubhouse. He dropped it at the HOA office, the clerk's eyes widening as she read. By evening, the community Facebook group erupted. Rent on the pool? What's this? Judith's crying in the comments. Is this even legal? Jack sipped whiskey on his porch, watching the posts fly, the sunset bleeding red over his ranch. Retaliation came swift and dirty. That night, Clay called, fence cut, Jack. 3 figures in hoodies, spooking your cattle. They jumped in Jack's truck, headlights slicing the dark, tires kicking dust. They cornered them by the creek, Brian, the HOA secretary, Judith's loyal scribe, panting and pale, hood down. Judith said to scare you, he stammered, spilling like a cracked jug. Just scare you off. Jack snapped a photo, called the sheriff, and watched Brian cuffed, his excuses crumbling under flashlight beams. She'll deny it, Brian whined. Jack nodded. Let her. But Judith upped the ante. 2 days later, smoke billowed from the HOA office, a Molotov through the window, flames licking the curtains. Jack and Clay raced over, extinguishers roaring, knocking it down before it devoured the place. As embers died, Judith stormed up, eyes blazing. This is your fault, she screamed, finger jabbing like a knife. Jack met her gaze, smoke stinging his eyes. I didn't start this fire, Judith. But I'll damn well put it out. The sheriff dug in, pulling footage from Jack's workshop cam. Tyler, Judith's son, sneaking in at 2:14 a.m., rifling drawers, stealing a folder of embezzlement-proof, forged board minutes, $15,000 siphoned into her consulting fund. Tyler didn't act alone, the grainy clip showed a shadow, Judith's silhouette in the doorway. Enough was enough. Jack rented the high school gym for a town hall, projector humming, the room packed with fed-up neighbors, ranchers, retirees, families tired of Judith's thumb. He laid it bare, videos of Brian's fence cutting, Tyler's break-in, bank records showing her graft. When the clip of Tyler rolled, the gym went tomb silent. Then Lily, the soft-spoken librarian with steel in her spine, stood. I moved to remove Judith Harmon as HOA president. Cheers erupted. Judith burst in, grabbing the mic, face twisted. You think you've won? I built this community. Lily, dead calm, then where's the $15,000, Judith? The sheriff stepped forward. Ma'am, you're under arrest for embezzlement, conspiracy, and vandalism. As cuffs clicked, Judith spat over her shoulder. My son won't let this go. The gym thundered with applause, a weight lifting like fog burning off. The threats didn't stop. Next morning, an envelope on Jack's porch, 3 photos, him at the town hall, by the gate, sipping coffee on his porch, snapped from the woods. Someone was watching. A day later, the barn blazed, tools, roof, supplies lost to flames, the acrid smoke choking the sky. Animals safe, but the loss gutted him. Sheriff found an ignition device and tire tracks, Judith's golf cart treads. That night, Granddad's grave was vandalized, red spray paint scrawling, burn with your barn. Clay found Jack there at dawn, on his knees, scrubbing paint with a sleeve soaked in tears. They won't break us, Clay said, handing him a thermos. Jack nodded, rising like the sun. Susan, an old board member who'd chafed under Judith's boot, showed up that evening with a folder, transcripts, hidden leases, a bank transfer tying Judith to the firebomb. She thought she buried it, Susan said. But we dig deeper. 2 days later, emergency election at the gym, Jack, Clay, Susan ran. Tyler lurked in the back, arms crossed, chewing gum like a bad movie thug. They swept every seat, the crowd roaring as results flashed. But as Jack stepped to his truck, a bullet rested on the hood, taped to a note. You took my mother down. Now I take everything from you. The lawsuit hit like a sandstorm. Tyler sued for fraudulent land acquisition, trespassing, emotional distress, from the guy who firebombed a barn. Jack's attorney laughed it off, but the town rallied. A local reporter, tipped by Susan, ran The Truth Beneath Pine Hollow, embezzlement, forgeries, threats. It went viral, shares hitting thousands. Court day, the judge, a grizzled Texan with a no-nonsense drawl, had read it all, watched the videos. He looked up, motion to dismiss granted. Case frivolous. Tyler slunk out, defeated, his threats hollow as wind. Months later, Jack sat at Granddad's grave, fresh flowers at the base, paint long scrubbed. A card tucked in the dirt, thank you for raising a man who doesn't quit. He lingered, wind rustling oaks, until Clay pulled up with 2 cold beers. They clinked bottles, watching porch lights flicker across town. The ranch was quiet again, cattle lowing soft. The clubhouse? They paid triple rent under new management, the HOA reformed, fines a memory. Jack's land stood unbroken, a legacy reclaimed. What a range war for the ages. If neighbors turned on you like this, would you fight or fold? Spill in the comments, wildest HOA feud? Pettiest power grab? Like if Jack's your ranch hero, share with anyone battling a Judith, and subscribe for more karma roundups. Follow at Karma for Karen everywhere, we're hurting justice worldwide. Until next time, mess with the wrong rancher, and karma'll run you off your own range. Yeehaw and peace out.